Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial with Century. Oh my god. Oh, epic. Okay, so first things first, make a new layer. I already have a new layer because, yeah. And put it on top of your reference and just lower the opacity of your reference so that you can trace it. Then I use dip pen hard for the line art, and the size, it depends on how big your canvas is. This is a HD canvas, so I put it at around 4. That should be good enough. Okay, so start by, just make sure that you stabilize it at 10 and no force fade, okay? No force fade. And then you just start tracing. So this part doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to make sure that it resembles your original thing. And make sure you close any gaps that you see, because when you do the coloring of this edit later, it will be very helpful. And I didn't really do that. There's going to be tons of gaps that I forgot to look for. Honestly, it's fine, I think. And I didn't do any of those extra lines that a lot of these other talented gacha tubers do, because I just do not have that skill capacity. Okay, so once you're done, just give it a little check, make sure it's okay, and then make a new layer. I mean, you could name your above layer like hair just to be organized, but I don't really think it's necessary. I usually don't do that, but you can if you want to. And so for your second layer, you can do your clothes and your hands. So this, I'm going to show you how to do a peace sign, okay? So just draw this like L shape thing and then 2 curved lines, and that's your thumb. Amazing, right? Well, it's that easy. And then you just draw 2 mountains like that, and then 2 candy corn shaped fingers. And that is your peace sign. In terms of proportion, that's just going to come with practice. And I guess you can resize it if you really need to. This is the sleeves. So this, for oversized sleeves, I think it's better if you use sharp lines like that, and then as you go down, it gets bigger. If that makes any sense, because then it doesn't look like the character is muscular. And so just draw sharp lines, some of it going into it as the folds, just like that. Sleeves, honestly, I still haven't mastered. I don't understand how it works. I just observe my own clothes and follow with that. The scarf is the same thing, because it's also kind of clothes. And you just draw lines, really. And that's all there is. And then when your arm is folded like that, you tend to draw a lot more folds, because they crumple when you bend it. Okay, this is a fist. The thumb is the same. And then for the fingers, you just draw 4 bumps like that. And then you draw lines at the valleys. And magic, that is your fist. Whoa, epic. Okay, then once you do that, you just continue drawing the sleeves. This is the same thing, really. There's not much difference in this section. And because of the laws of gravity, I made the bottom part a bit thicker. Okay, the body. That's a bit difficult. I honestly don't have any advice for this because it's really random. And like I said, I haven't mastered the laws of sleeves and clothing folds. But it really just comes with practice and observing your own clothes if you have oversized clothes. And these are just lines because, you know, her arm is up. And then I realized that your clothes fold when your arm is up. And then if you don't want to draw a pocket, this is optional, obviously. You see the fold there? Yeah. Make sure it doesn't match, because then that's how folds work, right? Yes. Okay, magic. And then I just made the pocket a bit droopier because I felt like it. Okay, and then once you're done with that, make a new layer. This is gonna be extra things. Okay, yeah, I just did a reorganization thing again. This is for the skin, as I said. and I'm just tracing everything else, like the legs, the face, the neck, any extras. Okay, just checking it here and then making a few changes just to make it look a bit more natural, I guess. And then I think I forgot to draw I forgot to draw the hair. Whoopsies. Yeah, let's fix that. Okay, yeah, so this is the skin layer, right? And then you also need to make a new layer for the hat and the bat wings, but I don't think I showed that. I'm not going to show that because it's really just tracing. There's not much to it. Okay. I'm going to fix that hair there. Oopsies. Let's fix that. Okay, time skip. So, the face. The face is also tracing. The eyes. If you want, when you're doing the pupil and the bottom eyelid, just trace it with a really thin marker. And for the eyebrows, I guess you could trace as well, but I just draw 2 lines going down like that. And the mouth, I drew on my own because I didn't like the previous one. And just make some additional changes, and we move on to step 2. Okay, so step 2. Woohoo, yes, 2, haha. Okay, so make a new layer below your line art, and then I always have my colors saved in here, just like that, just my color palette. And then how you do that, so you use your brush tool or your eyedropper tool, it doesn't matter, and you select your whatever color that you want, doesn't matter what order you do, and then you drag it from the top and drop it anywhere, like that. And you can hold down to add the current entry or delete it. So once you have that, you can select one of the colors and use your bucket tool. Settings is canvas, 1.5 expansion, and 10 strength or 5 strength, doesn't really matter. And you just start painting. You just color in everything on your second layer. If that happens, if yes, then use your brush tool and just patch it up with the same color. It still happens because I forgot a lot of gaps. This is why you need to make sure that when you do the line art, you have your gaps filled. But honestly, you can just fill them up like that. It's just a bit tedious at times. Just make sure that you still get everything done. Okay, so once you color everything, then okay, I'll show you how to do fades in just a minute. I'm just going to do the mouth first. So I always have 2 primary colors for the mouth. Or you can use your reference, it doesn't matter. But, so this is the tongue, or the foreground of your mouth, you could say. No, it's not. I don't know how to say it. But the darker color is for the roof of your mouth. And these are the only 2 colors I have for the mouth. Just like that. And then, oh, okay, that looks okay. And then, okay, this is how you do fade. Alright, so use your magic wand tool and select all your hair. Specific layer to the colored layer. And then just select all the hair. All of it. Make sure you do, because if you don't, then you'll have to redo the fade. Like I had to. But all you need to do is use your airbrush tool and just color it in. See, I forgot to select these 2. Okay. And you can use the selection layer to make sure that you have, it's the top layer. And then you just color in your fade color, just like that. I went a bit overboard, so I redid it. Oops. Okay. And then you do it in the middle, just like that. And then if you have a back, if you have a back thing like that, it's not applicable for all hairs. So for those who do, then yes, you just select that back part and you color it in a darker color. So you just just make it a bit darker, and then do the same thing. Use your airbrush tool and color it in, and then it will actually make it look like it's at the back. Just like that. Magic. It's done. Woohoo! Okay, and then for the eye, you just reduce the opacity of your paint color layer and open your reference, unhide it, and then just trace it. Use your dip pen hard tool, or any tool really that has a solid line, and then you can use your bucket tool to fill that in. If this happens, then reduce your strength, and then that's it. That's all there is to the eyes. Okay. Yeah, I forgot to put the diamond. Whoopsies. But I just did the same thing here. Then use the bucket tool. And that is it for the painting section. Woohoo! Wow, we're making progress, aren't we? Okay, moving on to step 3. Woo! Alright, so this is the part, this is optional. It's to make your edit a bit softer. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. But this is where your separate line art layers come in handy. So I'm going to have the hair layer selected first, because I always do the hair first. And you're going to go to filter and change drawing color. And you change it to your base color and make it just a bit darker. Just like that. It's to your liking. For me, I just make it a bit darker, but you can actually make it the same color. And then how to make a fade part. So you just clip a layer above that line art layer and you pick your fade color. And like we did to make the fade, you use your airbrush tool and just color it in like that. And that's it. That's how you do fades. So once you're done with that, then for the other layers, you pretty much do the same thing. This layer has skin color, the white and the beige looking color. So I'm just going to change it to the beige looking color because it was the most dominant one. Just like that. And then I'll show you how to do the separate ones. So do the same thing. Make a clipped layer above that layer. And color in the other ones. So for the white, just use a gray color. And use your dip pen, hard or soft felted pen or whatever, as long as it's not the brush tool, and just color it in like this. And that is the greatest thing about clipping layers, because it only appears in the layer that it's clipped, like that's being clipped, so it won't show up anywhere else, and so it'll be perfectly your line art. It won't affect the thickness of your line art. And then same thing for your hands, make it a bit darker and fill it in just like that. It's a rather simple step. I think it makes it look nicer, but it really depends on which edit I'm doing. But this, yeah, you could literally end it here and it'd be fine. Magic. And then for the mouth, I do the same colors though, because I don't know, you don't have to do any shading on it, so it's as if there's no line art at all. And for the eyes, I do the same thing as everything else, just make it a bit darker and then fill it in. For the eyelashes and the bottom eyelid, I don't touch that because it doesn't need to be touched. And that's it. That's all there is to this step. Woohoo! Alright, next step 4, I believe. The shading. Wow, so magical. Okay, so start with compressing all your line art layers and make a new layer, clip it, and change the blending mode to multiply, just like that. And then select your base color. I'm going to do the hair first because I always do. And select all your hair, just all of it. You can change your settings to the specific layer where it only selects based on that one layer. Okay, that's what specific layer means, in case you didn't know. And just make sure you have all your hair selected and just start. Oh yeah, before you start selecting, I liven the color depending on how dark your color is. And force fade turned on. The higher the percentage, the thinner the ends will be. So I usually leave it at 40%. It works. And you just, I'm going to use dip pen soft, or dip pen hard works as well, but dip pen hard, the biggest size is 30, so anyways. So dip and soft, just shade one side of the lines, okay? So every time you see a line, shade one side of it and be consistent. So if you say you're gonna shade the right side of a line, then stick with that, okay? So every time you see a line, only shade the right side, unless you want to make it a bit more complicated and make the light come from the front, but I'm gonna say the light's coming from the left side or some stuff, okay? But yes, be consistent, and I think it will look a little bit better. Okay, so once you're done with that, reduce the size and just make a few lines like that, just to show the flow of the hair, as I said in the first tutorial that I made. It's the same thing. Honestly, I think it's a really random step, but it does kind of make a difference for some reason, just to show a little bit more of how the hair looks. So check it once you're done, make a new layer, clip it, and make the blending mode add. That will make the color a lot lighter. So make sure the color is the same, but you can lighten and darken it depending on your liking. And only shade the other side. So if you chose to shade on the right side, now you shade on the left side, okay? So it has to be the opposite of your dark shading, because this is your highlights. So it shouldn't be very often where your highlights overlap with your shading, your dark shading. But I mean, sometimes it will. Depends on yours. Yeah. Okay, so once you're done with that, make a new layer and clip it. Same settings as your previous one at blending mode add. Use felt tip pen soft and just make a stripe across around that thickness. For this canvas, it's about, I don't know how big that is, but it's kind of big. And use your eraser tool and just erase in between like that. Okay. And then make these hourglass shapes in between like that. And I don't know why it's so okay. And then just try and keep the height the same, if you know what I mean, because then you can be consistent. Like don't do what I did previously in my other tutorial, because like this is what I did before and it just got skinnier and skinnier. It just looked really weird. So be consistent in the height of your hourglass, your whatever shape you call that. And so once you're done with that, then you go back to your previous add layer and use the airbrush tool and just line that part right there, like that. And the bottom, if you have long hair, just make it a little bit of highlight. And then you can reduce the opacity of the shine. And that's why it's a separate layer. Also because you need to erase and stuff. But yeah. So once that's done, that's pretty simple. Okay, so next step. So I think this step I'm going to show you how to do a fade, because if you do a fade, then your shading's going to be a bit weird. So if your hair has two different colors, then pick the fade color and do what you previously did with making the fade in the first place. So have a clip layer of the shading layer and just use the airbrush tool. And then you're done. That's it if you have a fade for your hair. Do the same thing for the add layer, but for me, it's actually not necessary because my hair is just darker, so it still works. Okay, so now the clothes. The clothes is a bit more complicated because I have two layers of it. So pick a really light color of your clothes. Pick like a much lighter color. So your shading should only be just a bit darker than the actual. Yeah, like that. And just shade So the light's coming that way, then you draw it on that side, like that. And then, because you need to be conscious of where your light is coming from. So I think it comes with practice in judging where that is. So you'll definitely get better as you continue practicing. So don't be discouraged. So every time you see a fold or a line, I just line it with the shading as well. And because this is a pocket, I put some shading there as well. And then, yeah, same thing for the scarf. I try to make it, because the head will like cover the light that's coming onto the scarf. So you won't actually see the light there. And keep on going. See, every time you see a fold, you also put some shading there. Okay, and then same thing here. The sleeve is a bit poofy, so that's why I put a line there, but usually you don't need to do that. So it just depends on what your sleeve looks like, okay? So once you're done with that, then you can move on to the second layer of shading. Make the color just a bit darker than the previous one. You don't want the change to be too abrupt. And then just do the same thing, but not as much. So your darker shade should only overlap the lighter shade, if that makes any sense. And parts where it would be darker, you just put it there. And that makes sense. Okay, so once you're done with that, then you can move on to your skin tones. The legs, I always follow the same procedure. Just do this. It's like a arc type of thing. And then for the hands, the neck is always colored. The neck is always colored. And the face, there's always that arc thing again because your face is round. That makes any sense. Okay, and then the hair, just a bit of shading. Okay, and then your hands, it follows the same rules. So just remember where your light is coming from. That's all I can say. And especially in the palm area, you might want to color that in, because if you look at your hand in a palm, you see that there is no shading there. Same thing for the fist. If your light's coming that way, then you want to make sure that you color it in on that side. And then that's it for the hands. Okay. So now for the eyes. So select the entire eye, even the white part. And then go to your multiply layer and pick a gray color. Not too dark, just gray. And just line it using your any tool, really, and just line the top part only. I realize that it actually makes a big difference to have that. I don't know why, but it does. So make sure you do that, and then you can move on to the shading. So select your eye and your eye only, just the iris part and the pupil, and make the color a lot darker. Use your airbrush tool and just line the top with a dark shade. That. And you see those dots there? Yeah, you go to your selection area, use your brush tool, and just fill in those little dots. Make sure those areas are selected as well. I mean, I usually don't do that, but it's a small detail that triggers me. Okay, then you can also do the sides if you like. I usually don't, but really depends on my mood. It doesn't really make much of a difference. So once you're done with that, then you pick a little bit darker color and make the size a lot smaller, like a lot smaller, and just draw tiny little lines stretching out from the pupil to the edges of the iris, like that. It makes it look a bit more natural, you could say, a bit more detailed. I don't know, it's just what I do. That's how I do the eyes. It looks really scary right now, but once you add the highlights, it'll look a lot better, I promise. So pick your original, just make it lighter. Use the dip pen soft, make it a bit thicker, and the opacity a lot lower. And then just line it like that. Yeah. And on the bottom only, not on the top. Not too much on the top. And then you can add those little 2 lines. I've seen a lot of gacha tubers do that, but it's not necessary. And circles and stuff. I don't do that usually. But I do make the bottom a little bit lighter. Okay, then now the highlights. So make a layer on top of your outline. On top of your outline, make sure that you do that. And then just draw literally anything. So I'm going to put like a little shading there first. And then you draw a heart. You can draw a star. You could draw a flower if you wanted to. Anything. As long as it's wide. Yeah. And then, yeah, that's what I do. Because, you know, it's century. Yeah, 100. Okay. And then that's your eye. You finished the eye. Okay. And then, oh, I forgot the hat. Okay, let's just quickly shade in the hat here. The hat's not too difficult. It's pretty simple. You just use the Dip and Soft tool and just make this little curve following the bottom part. I honestly don't think that's how you shade hats, but that's how I did it. Okay, so now we move on to the final step. So make a new layer above everything. Okay, and change the blending mode to add. Don't clip it, doesn't need to be clipped. And then go to your airbrush tool, make it the biggest that you can, and just shade one side of it. So if you made your highlights on the right side, then put your light on the right side. Okay? And then make a black, put a black shadow as well on the other side, on a different layer, a normal layer. And then let's make a background. Okay, so I'm gonna make it yellow because I like yellow. It's a very static color. And then I'm gonna use the drawing tool to draw a rectangle. And I'm gonna turn on the fill as well. I didn't actually do that. It's a good idea. Use the same color. Okay. And I just draw a square like that. Okay, the highlights are really bright though. Let's make that. Let's redo that. Okay. Yeah, let's not use the drawing tool for that. Okay, let's shade it again. Why is it so bright? Oh my gosh. Okay. It's so overboard. Okay, and I also shade the corner just because, you know, the light is coming from that direction. Okay, and then what you do next? I mean, the background is really random. You could upload your own or you could make your own like that. It doesn't really matter. But this is how I'm going to do the background, and I'll show you how to do it too. So I duplicated it, changed it to a manga background just to make it look like that. And let's change it up a little bit. Okay, lower the opacity. You can do whatever you want for the background. Okay, then let's make a shadow. So you have your duplicated layer. Oh, wait, yeah, okay. Let's do some hair, messy hair lines. So when you're doing this, try not to make it stick out because it makes it look like really, really messy. Whereas if you connect it back to, like, you don't do that because that looks really bad. So connect it back to an original hair, unless it's on the bottom. Even if it's on the bottom, it looks really weird. And try not to go too much out because it looks a bit strange that way. And then, yeah, that's it to, like, the little strand things. Okay, let's go back to making a shadow. Duplicate the layer, the colored one, and then move it back a little bit. And you could do the same thing with the manga background if you'd like. But really, the shadow, it doesn't really matter. I think that's how people do it, that thing. But I'm not actually going to do it this way because, I don't know. It doesn't really match, does it now? I don't really like it. I'm going to use a different method. So go to the color tool and then use drop shadow on style. And then you can play with the settings until you're happy. And okay, that looks pretty good. Okay. I think we're done. Are we? Oh yeah, let's add a little more details with the circles, because I want to. I am so random with backgrounds. Okay, I think we're done. We are finally done. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. See you guys maybe in another video. Bye.